Today is January 1st, 2026, and I am here to continue to give you day by day updates on what is happening in the New York City shelter system. So, follow, like, share. Let's get into it. So, we have some really big changes coming up. I just did a video regarding Section 8 NYCHA voucher amounts, what the new standard payment rent amount looks like, which we know it is now more than city FAPS. So, go to that video, like it, listen to it, understand it. Okay. So, really, the biggest change going into 2026, New York City, is that it's preparing to end and separate migrant shelter systems and move all shelters back to the Department of Homeless Services, known as DHS, by mid 2026. This comes after 2 years of running separate shadow systems for asylum seekers. Okay, so City Hall is moving to the end of separate migrant shelter networks and return all shelter operations back to DHS by 2026. This is a major structural change affecting thousands of families and single adults. The city has been running a parallel system since 2022 due to the migrant influx. So, what does this mean for shelter residents and how this is going to affect you? More standardized rules, more consistent case management, possible relocations as facilities consolidate. Federal housing cuts proposed for 2026 could impact New York City shelters. We've been talking about this during 2025. A major shelter provider, Win, I'm sure you're very familiar with them, warned that President Sassoon Trump proposed 2026 federal budget cuts. 43% cuts to federal rent assistance, a 2 year cap on federal support for able bodied adults. New York City Housing Authority predicts over 300,000 New York City residents could be displaced if these cuts pass. This is not final, but is the biggest potential change looming over New York City's shelter and housing system for 2026. New York City budget for 2026 increases funding for housing and shelter services. The New York City Council passed 2026 city budget with increased investments in housing, childcare, mental health, public safety, and quality of life services. This means more local funding is being directed towards shelter support, even as federal cuts are being debated. Migrant shelters closures continue into 2026, what I spoke about in the beginning of the video. New York City has already begun closing large migrant shelters, including the Roosevelt Processing Center, which is scheduled to fully wind down by June 2025.